because we've kind of talked about that a little bit.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'm
Sure.
on Roman 8H,
Yes,
yeah, which is repayment of loan to the road impact fee.
yes. I'd like to recommend that we go ahead and do that.
All right.
And
So where does that put us then? And we'll still not totally, where can we look to see how that affects anything here?
there's nothing in the
There's
book.
nothing in the book.
Because it's just repaying a loan, so it's reducing the cash in the general fund.
Right.
And increasing the cash in the road impact fee. But what that will do, you're correct, in the starting fund balance for October 1, 2017, it will add $3 million to the road impact fee fund,
All right.
because they'll now have that, those funds and be able to spend them.
All right. So,
But where will it take it away from?
well, she's saying
It
it's
reduces
not-
the general fund cash. which-
They've already deducted it from that, though, so we haven't been
We've
looking
already
at it to
deducted
be
it from
honest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
In effect, they have.
It's-
All right.
All right, I got it now.
It was set aside in fund balance, so it was never being shown since the loan was made that was available for spending.
We're taking it back out of Carl's desk.
Carl, you want to go
I
get
got
that
it
and see what it looks
He's-
like?
yeah.
I'm ready. I don't think, I think I left the key at home, so.
But it would, I would recommend that it come to council in the form of a resolution,
The next
because
meeting.
there's
Okay.
an existing resolution that talks about how it's going to be repaid, so
All
that
right.
would modify that resolution.
So, obviously, we have enough cash.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing, all right.
Yes.
Fine, okay. Good, that's H. So, let's see, what's A? Assignment of fund balance. It doesn't-
There's been some discussion about setting aside additional reserves, and it was mentioned at a meeting, and
Right.
so I was just capturing things that were mentioned and said perhaps we could talk about that during the budget time.
I think the notion, at least to the extent I've talked about it, is nothing more than what Carl talked about last year. We had a general conversation about it, which is that instead of having all kinds of contingencies, I mean, the word that was used last year is, what was it? Something to reserve, allocate the reserve. In other words, that the
Yeah.
that the reserve is always allocated into the budget, so that, I forget if the word was allocate, but that's the concept, so that if something came up through the year that anybody on council or staff brought up, that can be an adjustment, a mid-year adjustment to the budget.
Right.
So it's available.
Right, it's included in the budget resolution
Right.
as being appropriated.
Right, so no need to have individual contingencies, it's all there, and the process is it comes, through the city management to council.
Now, and you can certainly do it that way.
Okay.
I think this was an idea that we picked up from Councilmember DeWitt with regards to trying to at least begin
But it's different.
pre-funding
Right,
some
that's different.
maintenance issues, replacement issues, roofs, air conditioners,
Okay.
those kinds of
That's
things.
a different
Kind
concept.
of,
It's a
well,
different
kind
concept.
of, here's what, the way we kind of, and I brought it to Ann and Carl a couple weeks ago, and I brought them the paperwork that we use at the fire department. Basically, what the auditors do is they look at our assets. And then through policy, we've created a depreciation fund that takes 25% of that over the years is what we built it up. And now, if something goes bad, you don't have to rob it out of the reserves.
Right.
You have that reserves already as a depreciation fund for AC units, for building maintenance,
Right.
for whatever, and you have that out there. And what we talked about last year was, okay, we need 3 new
That's
vehicles
different.
2 years from now. Start putting 100,000 away,
Right.
or 20,000 away these next 3
Right.
years to buy that. So 2 different concepts. The biggest one I'm looking at now is the depreciation fund, because kind of on a side note, Amy and I were just talking. I mean, if something happened, this building, either something happens to it that we can't turn in on insurance, that we need a major repair, we have no fund to do it other than real reserves.
Right.
Real dollar, not that they're not real dollars, but something, the reserves that we have allocated already, so we may have to rob it out of another bucket, cookie jar, whatever you want to say. So I was looking for something, if we had monies left over, or wanted to allocate monies for an actual depreciation
Fund.
because depreciation fund, because the rec center's not getting any younger, the city hall's not getting any younger, and then instead of either having to go to raise taxes or to look at different funds to take it from, if we start funding it now, I mean, it doesn't have to be like right now with the fire department, we'll use the round numbers, is where ours is 27% of whatever our assessed through the audit, whatever our assets are, which is in the neighborhood of like $800,000. And that goes for, if we blow a motor in a truck, we take it out of that instead of out of operating
Now,
reserves.
ours hopefully be less, because you got lot more really depreciable
Yes.
assets.
Yeah, I think our assets are in the
Right.
$5 million.
Right, with the trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a sensible idea, right?
It's called a replacement reserve.
Yeah.
Well, it's a, replacement or depreciation, because, you start out, the building's worth $2 million. It's gotta have a depreciation, just like on taxes, if
So
anybody
he'd have to
owns a
figure out,
business.
he'd have to figure out what we're talking about.
Right. So council want us to pursue this?
Or we'd pursue it and see what we got, right?
Yeah.
And again, we don't have to start at
Right.
27, we can start at a 5% or 10%
Yeah.
and build up to it.
Well, I'd be interested to know, what our asset values are, in our holdings. Well, certainly for the city hall. And I noticed that we didn't have that at our budget from a year ago, we had like a renovation for the council chambers or this in here. And we don't have that included, right?
Well, you got
Right.
some, oh, not the council
No.
chambers, just city hall.
City Hall.
But we don't have this area included in our.
I don't believe it's included in this one.
I'm in favor of replacing the air conditioning.
Or the one over your head.
Yes.
Yeah, we need a cold.
No matter where I sit, it's here.
Yeah.
Can we switch Fred and you and just have Fred sit there?
No, it's everybody's problem. It's not just me.
Yeah, it's not cold enough, I think.
Oh, my God.
Well, elaborating on what Greg is saying, some HOAs have this, but you take each facility that you have or something that's tangible and you look at it like this building, you come up with a replacement reserve schedule of different things you're going to have to replace. You're going to have to replace the roof. Roof down here is good for, say, 20, 25 years. Air conditioning down here, 15 to 20, you're pretty well maxed out. You're better off to get another one. You take all these components, you come up with a value, and then you figure out its life expectancy, and that's how much you should be putting away each year towards that thing. And then you can take a chance and say, well, instead of doing 100% of what it takes each year to do that, let's go with a 50% funding or 25. But you really need to do a little more comprehensive, either that or just do, as Greg's saying, take 5%, and that gives you at least a nest egg to work out of. But any of these buildings, like buildings every 20 years need major redo, renovation, and all that, and you usually come out ahead because your savings in water consumption, electric, all the different things that make a building operate reduce with the more energy efficient or water efficient fixtures and all that you get.
Yeah, I think that's two different things, though. I mean, depreciation is in case something bad happens. What you're talking about is also what we do at the fire department if we're going to rebuild Station 3. We've been putting $50,000 away for the last 8 years to do that. Now we've got $2 million in there to do it. So that's the way. So you're talking two different things. The depreciation one's more if something bad were to happen that you couldn't pull insurance, or even if you could get it on insurance, you want it repaired today. Let's use Hurricane Charlie when it hit Charlotte County. 12 of their 18 fire stations were damaged.
Right.
They had to come up with the money to
Right now.
repair all those. They got it all reimbursed later on through insurance, but you still got to put that outlay first. And that's what that depreciation fund would
Yeah.
be for those days, those rainy days.
I think I almost said we, but in the fire district, didn't we have an emergency operating fund for the,
That was more, our emergency operation fund, just like I believe
got
for here, is for
5 million.
is for personnel and for little things like that, not so much building replacement.
I would say on the things we think will eventually can get replaced by insurance, there's always short-term loans from banks and things like that.
Lines of
But I think we need something like Greg's talking about.
That makes sense.
We can look into it, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look
we'll
into
do
it.
Exactly.
But I do think the focus should be on large items, not, and I jokingly said the air conditioner, but I would assume we could have put a new air conditioning in here if we wanted to, because it's not that big a deal. You know, it's like $100,000. That's a typical amount of money for the capital improvement program, but
We could
because-
look at a minimum dollar
It
amount.
has to be more significant than just these routine kinds of things.
Okay.
Because it's always a bad idea to earmark funds for any particular, the more flexible you are, the better off you are in regard to satisfying the needs that come up either planned or unexpected. So the more you put into a specialized fund, the less flexibility you have in other areas.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why we did it, and I agree with you, Amy, to an extent, is until you get a board that wants to cut into services, and it's easy to take it out of, if you've got a big pot of money, it's easy to take it out of that, whether I've got a pot for a fire truck, a pot for a new station, new equipment, air packs, essential services. It's harder to take it out of 5 different ones than it is one, because those are allocated for things that either the city manager has says we need. We need these down the road, whether it's, you know, adding on to the pool or replacing the pool, or like now this 100,000 for the geothermal unit.
Right.
Had we thought, like you said, had we thought about that 4 years ago, it just, hey, here's the check, because we've been putting $25,000 away the last 4 years on this thing. So, I see both sides of it, is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
All set on that? Okay. I think B, we've talked enough about, right? That's the health insurance. Discussion of core essential services, outsourced services. I guess we can talk about that, or Carl, you can take that on board with respect to what you're going to do in terms of our challenge to you, or what?
Well, I feel uncomfortable in trying to work through core and essential services because those really are, I think, the purview of the council to determine. I think we are we're heading in that direction in terms of the challenge that's already been given to staff with regards to the $1.3 million we're going to be looking to save.
Right.
So I don't know, unless council wants to talk about this more, we're good. We understand the direction given so far today.
All right. Anybody else on that? Peter, anybody? Anybody in the room?
I
No,
just,
Amy?
I just
Go
want to comment, because I think that it's essential to look at that from a strategic point of view as we look forward or anticipate the loss of the impact fee as being a significant revenue source. That, it seems to me, would be a concept that we have to identify either through the guidance of management as they look at how you run the city and the council from the perspective of what our priorities are. But I think that's more in the purview of management than council to say this is not an essential service, because you are the professionals here and know how one typically runs a city and how you've found it to work in Bonita Springs.
Right, okay, so, staff is here to support council and to do the things council wants us to do.
Right.
And it is our responsibility, I agree, to do it in the most efficient and effective manner possible. And if that means moving some people around or, being more effective and efficient at what we do. When we talk about, in my mind, when we talk about essential services, that's more of a public policy decision, because it's not, we're kind of how do we get things done? Public policy decisions are what's going to get done. So when I take a look at core essential services, that discussion would be more like what the council thinks we should be doing or not doing as much of. All right?
Right.
So,
I think of it more of government light, How do you define government light? And what things do we keep in-house and what things do we consider, and not whole departments, but sections of the responsibility that's given so that our people could do things like go after grants.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking along those
Okay,
lines.
well, and I
agree.
recognize
Yeah,
that,
no.
okay? What I'm saying is, I agree with you, I agree with your definition of what we think management needs to do.
Right.
What I'm saying is, and I'm not gonna pick any existing departments, I'm gonna make one up now. But let's say we had an in-house animal services, okay? We had our own dog catchers. The question is, would that be an essential service? And that's something council would have to say, I don't know that it's that important in our particular city, they all stay in the gates, you know, whatever the reason is, you know, do you want to offer that service at all? And then if the question is, if the answer is, yes, we want to offer that service, then it's like, staff, go out and figure out the most efficient way to do that.
Right.
And either implement it, or bring it back to council and give you options on what you think is the best way. So, my view of it is, the essential services question is a what question, okay, what services to offer? And then management's more like, okay, council's made the decision, this is what we will offer, how do we offer it in the most effective way? It's more of a how thing instead of a what.
Right.
But we don't need to get tied up in that, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay,
Review of funding requests, we've done that.
we've done
Did
that.
Okay, discussion of communication services tax, I thought we did that last year.
This is the money that's been accumulating
Right.
in the 2011 debt service fund.
Right.
So by the end of this fiscal year, it'll be accumulated to $1 million. In the financial projections, this is what I mentioned, is I applied the use of that in some later years to fund capital projects.
Well, I think the purpose that we agreed on, there was an open question to consider from time to time, but the purpose we all agreed on was, let me back up a second. The extra debt was put on, from my perspective at least, the extra debt was previously put on without some kind of pay-as-you-go funding methodology associated with it. And so that created a significant cash flow issue in the interim term through, I think is it 2022?
Right.
The cliff occurs.
Mhm.
So it was to really retroactively consider, at least what I considered to be, not trying to be pejorative about it, should have been considered previously when it was voted to put that debt on, which was to come up with an interim funding mechanism to take the pressure off that cash flow strain. So the logical corollary of that is that's what it'd be used for. It's used to pay the debt service.
Okay. So currently, we have the budget set up to pay this is a road, the 2011 debt service, to be paid from the road, 85% from the road impact fee fund and 15% from general fund.
Right.
So,
It frees up money then, in
so
effect.
that's what you want us to use the communications services tax and the
That's why we
That was
approved
the
it.
intent.
That was the
electricity
intent.
franchise fee. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
can I just throw something out, and I'm not sure how I feel about this, but when you were commenting on your discussion with our investment advisor, when they gave you a benchmark rate for if we had to do any borrowing,
Yeah.
Right.
and the reason why you are suggesting that we do not use that, I think that's what you have in the budget, not to pay off the 2011 debt early, but to keep it in there so that we can use it for these projects that we're working on now. Is that what you're suggesting we're doing through your budget? Is that correct?
Well, no, it's not paying down the debt. It's,
Funding the debt service.
it's basically funding, using pay-as-you-go, because we have other funding sources that we've been using since inception of the loan to pay that debt service.
In other words, it's
So-
$3.6 million of debt service a year. It's to fund that debt service.
But
And
that's just the regular debt service, it's
Right,
not
on
an
the schedule.
it's not an accelerated.
That's correct, on the
Correct.
scheduled
Right.
repayment.
It's the regular
Okay.
huge
Okay.
debt service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought that
Okay.
we had discussed
Prepaying it.
prepay.
We
That's
did.
where I'm.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
she-
That's right.
And that's how I understood it.
No,
from the very
That was
beginning,
how I
but then-
understood. yeah.
That's-
Here's my historical recollection of it. Hope it's better than the monument. Originally, the thought was to pay off that debt early.
Right.
No.
But then what happened was a combination of our financial consultants, I think Vice Deputy Mayor Flynn, I want to promote you, they looked at what it would cost us to have to reborrow money.
Correct.
They said, hey, this doesn't make sense to pay off something that we got a good loan rate on early, because we may need it, but using it to pay the service as we go is a good use of the money.
And the only thing I quibble with is, and it's really a quibble, I was never of the view, now, I think there was semantics that got, that we all were using and we were all thinking separate things. That's what I think. right?
We didn't.
Because I was never of the view we should be using it to prepay on the back end. Because, so take $1 million, right? You prepay on the back end, what does that do to your current cash at 2%? It's $20,000. And you've got cheap money that you're using in the interim. It doesn't solve any problem. The
Oh, I
problem
agree- I
with
agree-
cash flow is
I agree
Well,
with
that's
you,
what we're
but that
saying, but
was
I, again, it may be semantics, but that was, I thought, our original discussion.
Lots of
And so now,
semantics,
and
yeah.
now, what you're recommending is that we just do instead of pay, we use this money to pay off the debt, so we don't have to use general funds to pay off the debt. And we
Right.
continue to accumulate it that way. Because we have that obligation, we have to pay the payments, yeah.
Right.
Ken?
And that's the best use of it.
Right.
Okay, thank
And
you.
especially since we don't want to have to borrow for these plans that we
Right.
have,
Right.
because
Right.
the rate is so high.
And
Okay.
so, from a standpoint of the financial projections, it's just moving money from one fund to the other.
Right.
Right.
But I would like to ask if, and I'll rework the financial projections, obviously, after we do all this work. But the thing with the communication services tax and electricity franchise fee is they are unrestricted revenues. We can use those funds for anything. The Bonita Beach Road Visioning Project, I have concerns about the ability to use a road impact fee revenue for that, because what we would be freeing up basically would be road impact fee revenue to use for a project. Quadrant project would, qualifies, but the Bonita Beach Road Visioning, we'll have to be careful with how we spend money.
All right.
But the communication services tax and the electricity franchise fee, we can use those revenues for that purpose.
So I think my answer to that is, in language, we approved it to take pressure off the fact
And that's
that
accomplished.
we have this extraordinary debt service payment that falls off a cliff in 2000. Is it 22 or 21?
It's fiscal year '22, but the
Right.
payment's due November 1st, 2021.
Okay, so it falls off the cliff then. It's still serving that need. You
Yeah.
have whatever
Okay.
accounting flexibility requirements you need
Okay.
to have.
Okay.
That would be my answer.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's accomplished.
Audrey or somebody will tell us not to get in trouble with
Right.
using the
Yes.
road impact fees, and if that becomes an issue, we can make the determination at that
Okay.
point to
Okay.
pull it over this way or
Yeah.
flip-flop them at that
Okay.
point.
Right.
So I think
Okay,
you should.
we're good.
You're good.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Discussion of increase in the franchise fee. Mike?
No.
Was that yours?
Yep, that's a negative or not.
Yeah.
You're proposing we do it, or,
I'm
Not-
kidding.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding him, yeah.
no, who is proposing that?
Well, I think she
Well,
put it
no,
in because, Greg, go ahead.
No, what it was is,
Last year.
when we did it last year, FP&L or
We
the,
had a limitation.
well, no, it wasn't that, is that we asked for X and we could only go with half of it. So what
Oh,
Anna's
oh,
asking, do
oh,
we
I
want to
see.
go
Okay.
We
the
actually
full
approved
amount?
X,
We
right.
approved X
Yeah.
as a council.
Yeah.
So Ann's saying, do we still want to go through with X?
We originally.
Did 1% and they
we're-
could only
we're-
do a half or
We're
something.
moving it from 3% to 4.5%.
And this is still
And-
lower than our neighbors around us?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even with the increase? Yeah.
Yes.
And it still has a sunset.
Would still have a sunset, right.
Yes.
Well, and this increase would have to,
Well, our notion
Have the
is to
ordinance.
sunset.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, I would tell you, I reject the characterization of, oh my God, you guys are raising taxes when the previous council put on $13 million of debt without a clear line of sight of how to pay it. So, I think we're gonna have a conversation, we ought to have that conversation. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I think that's where the conversation should be.
Well, I think that's a conversation we got for somewhere down the road,
Down the
I
road,
guess.
right.
But I think we all voted to go from 3 to 4.5 at a council meeting, and without bringing it back, I say we go forward with it. I mean, that's what was in the papers, that's what was expected.
Well, to get back to your,
Right.
the previous council voted to do the 13 million.
Right,
If I decide to go buy a car myself.
Right.
I'm still only making the same amount of money.
right,
I'm not like, I have to fit it within my budget. So they they borrowed $13 million, the debt service has to be figured out within the budget,
right.
you know.
And it's where we are now.
Yeah, so
Not
it's
figured
either
out.
you tighten your belt or you get another job. But we're a city, getting the other job is taxing the people, whether it's a tax
Wow.
that's hidden on their electric bill or in their communication tax, or if it's like they get a thing in the mail from the millage saying, hey, the mill's going up, your taxes are going up. So it's either we hide it or we put it in plain sight and let everybody know, hey, we're
Right.
taking another $250,000.
Right, so, previous council approved a move for a project that's costing us between $25 and $30 million, stripped down all the reserves in the city, added on $13 million of debt. In my view, it's something that's presented a cash flow squeeze that has to be dealt with. All right? And if you need the proof, it's in these numbers.
Yeah, and
So
it's a
it's
squeeze
not-
for a certain amount of time.
So it's not, in my view, we thought about it, we figured it out. It's put us in this position that requires us to do something about it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Either that or you don't do anything on Pennsylvania, you don't do anything on bike paths, you don't do anything on.
Well, and
all
I think
these-
that's it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think probably this council that's sitting here, or the ones in the near future, when we decide to
Correct.
do whatever with the quadrant, is gonna strap the same thing. We're not gonna, by
But
the
we're
time
trying
we.
to save money to do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're trying to save some money. I don't think there's any way we're gonna save $30 million.
I don't know.
But
To
the
do
other-
it.
This whole sheet here is, we're taking money out of reserves to do. So I mean, we're not even tightening our belts. We're using more of our savings to do more stuff. And then, okay, let's raise some taxes some more to help put money back into the reserves, because we just spent more money out of it.
We
I
haven't
mean,
decided to do
we're
that
talking
yet.
about $250,000 going in if we raise the taxes on the
Right.
electricity franchise. And if you add up everything else that's on here, you got 450,000, 200,000, 750,000. You're talking about adding a tiny bit in, and we're taking a lot out.
I think I made my point, I
So-
think you made your point.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think,
thanks.
I mean, I guess that's my comment. We decided on it, and I don't know, where's Audrey? Is she in there still? Oh. Fred's in a way I can't see. And I apologize, and I'll say like the mayor says, I should know this. When we approved that, we went from 3 to 4.5, correct? And approved that?
For the communication services tax?
No, for the, for electricity.
It went up
franchise fee.
4% from 3% to 4% from December 2016 to December 2022, and your maximum is 5%.
No, what did we approve in that ordinance, I guess?
That's what I just was
Okay.
reading.
That was what was approved in the ordinance, but you had previously approved to go to the 4.5%.
4.5%.
And when we
4.5%.
determined,
No, there's a limit that we can raise it. We
Just
didn't know
Correct,
that.
it's 5%.
I guess that's my question.
1% a year.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
question. Did we get another ordinance
What
that
happened was we-
rescinded that one?
No, what happens was we approved it, and then the research was done. and it
Correct.
was- right.
And that's what I'm saying.
So
Did we
we
get
would-
another
yes.
ordinance that says that?
No, it's all in the
Massive.
same ordinance. So when we did the ordinance, the way FP&L prefers the ordinance to be drafted is you have each one, and then it says notwithstanding the above,
Right.
city council exercises the following option. And it has it in, consistent with the terms, I think it's section 3,
Right,
that
right.
has all of the equipment on that.
I guess my question is, if we're gonna do H or F, whatever, is
What is it?
increase it to what our intent was in the beginning, do we have to do another ordinance at the next budget, I mean, the
All right,
next-
so for FP&L, you can
Yes.
do it at any time, but it takes roughly 90 days or 120 days to put it in place. For communication services tax, you're limited annually to
Right.
like right now.
But we're not
Underneath the
talking
work.
about.
We're not just
Yeah.
doing
We're not
it.
doing
We're
anything.
just-
No,
Okay, I'm just, I know, but I
That's
looked
not
at,
today's discussion.
I
It doesn't
understand,
have
they're
to
a
be.
Jack and Jill, so I just,
Could I just have a clarification, because I'm totally confused? When we did this the first time, we said we wanted to go to 4.5, is that
Correct.
correct?
Uh-huh.
Correct.
But we only were allowed, because of the limitations of the amount, to go to
Right.
4?
That's
Correct.
correct.
So
Exactly
we're
right.
0.5% short of what we said we were going to do,
Initially.
just
Correct.
because of the
Correct.
mechanism?
Correct.
Okay, I don't think it's worth
And that, and
it's not worth arguing over.
piggybacking off of what Amy's saying is, if we want to go that extra 0.5%,
give me direction and I'll prepare it.
no, that's what I'm saying, we've got to come back to council and get a.
We have
A new
resolution.
ordinance.
All right, let's
Yeah.
whether we have a
That's
full
all.
house.
And
Let's
then
whether
we
have a
can be
full house.
blasted all over the newspapers to say we're raising the fees,
Well, no,
okay?
it's, but
Half a
I would,
percent is de minimis, really.
but I would not suggest considering this today. I think she said you don't have to. I
Uh,
would wait till we have a full council.
Right,
No, I
the-
understand
well,
that, I just.
Department-
either way, it's gonna
right.
come back to us
Right.
at
Department of
council, not
Revenue
here.
isn't time frame to your fiscal year. So, while there is some time, lead time for FP&L to get the billing done correctly, and to get everything situated, it can be done at any time of the year.
And another point to make is that franchise fee is going to be declining for all the reasons that, the world is changing. We're not going to have as much electric uses because of conservation. So that's going to be one of those declining things anyway. And if we put an
Okay.
extra fee on it, they're even going to save more electricity.
The budget itself, when you prepared this, Ann, you didn't do it at the 4.5, did you?
No, I did
Okay.
not.
So we are, and anything else but the millage? Carl?
No, just.
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Council, anything else but the millage? Okay, so on the millage, the notion is not to approve a millage, but to approve a number that it would not be higher than,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed.
Not to exceed,
Right.
You're-
right.
With the final determination to be made in September.
I think that sounds very good.
Yep. With the final determination to be made in December.
September.
September.
Yes, sir.
September.
Yes, sir.
September,
Okay.
all right. And what's the current millage? Or what, is there a resolution?
No.
No, you don't need a
it's
Bruce,
just
you need to
on
make a
by-
motion
just
with
by-
a
I
not
make a
to
motion
exceed.
to maintain the current millage rate, or whatever it is.
Point
8.1
Point-
817
Yeah.
something.
0.8173. Second?
I would make a motion.
Okay. I'll make the.
Go ahead, Greg.
So we can put it there. I'll make the motion to set the millage at the
No,
not to exceed .8173 mils.
Which is the current.
I thought that's
Which
what
is
it
That is
said.
the current one.
Yeah, but it was. I was young.
I would
Okay.
second that.
What would the rollback be?
0.7721.
And what's the difference in dollar amount
It
going to
is-
the rollback?
sheet. Rollback would reduce revenue by $424,441. In the general fund, $9,198 in the debt service, the downtown debt service.
Now, there are parts of that that come from new building, correct?
Yes.
In other words, there are parts of the increase in the millage that don't relate to increase in value, that don't increase in value on existing buildings, they relate to new buildings being built.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So the rollback considers that. It allows you to generate that additional revenue for the new construction.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Simmons,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor O'Flynn,
Aye.
Councilman Gibson,
Aye.
Councilman Forbes,
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba,
Aye.
Councilman Dewitt,
Aye.
Oh, Steve's not
That's
here.
it.
All right, good, motion passes. Okay, so, 351.
What did you want to do about a future meeting?
Oh, thank you, Carl. I think, well, first of all, let me say a big thank you, and I'm sure everybody feels this way, to staff and all the hard work that was put into this.
Thank you.
We covered, and finance particularly, we covered an awful lot of ground today, so thank you for that. I was wondering if we could have another meeting in July. And I was thinking, like maybe the Thursday after our city council meeting on the 19th, which is the 20th of July.
Yeah, that would work for me.
Would that work for you?
And I think it would be good, and I don't want to say wrap up loose ends and sit there and look at you guys to talk about the budget, but I would be all in favor of it. And thank you for your patience and indulgence with me today.
Greg's got a problem that day. What about the 21st?
No, I can't do it the 21st.
Hey, all right.
Mondays are better for me.
Monday's
I'm
better
missing a
for
lot of work,
Mike.
so.
Monday's better for Mike. Peter, what are you on the 17th? I don't know, not others, but,
I won't be here. I'm
Greg's
out of
not here,
town
forget
till- I'm out of
that.
town till the 18th,
all right.
starting Tuesday.
What about the 24th? Is the
No.
next- No?
Oh,
Okay.
I'd have to then look at August 2nd or after.
August 2nd. Is that too late? August 2nd? All right.
Not too late at all.
I've got a council
And I-
meeting that
and
day.
I
Do
am-
we want to come in early?
Want to do August 1st? Peter, August 1st, all
No.
right?
No.
No. All right, August 2nd. All right, we have a council meeting. All right,
Oh my
so
God.
Coming in noon or something?
come in.
Well, I apologize. Like August 2nd, we would have our evening meeting.
Right.
Anytime after that would be fine, like the 3rd, 4th, or
I
whenever.
can't do the 3rd, 4th. So you're no good in the morning of the 2nd, Pete?
Sorry, no.
All right.
What's the
You
latest?
You can't
What?
arrange the interviews?
When are you going to be gone?
The 20th?
How about the 26th? Did we try that?
That was the first day.
26th. No, Peter, are
Peter's
you-
gone, I think.
Peter, you gone the week of the 24th, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be able to chime in off the
Okay.
grid.
All right, good for you.
So what are we looking to go over?
The budget, in other words.
Everything we talked about.
In other words, instead of waiting till September, getting a reading from Carl
Well, we have another budget, we have two more budget
in
meetings, right?
September.
They're both in September?
Yeah, the next one's sometime in September. I'm
It's,
just getting a
it's
big-
best
What
if you,
about- what about Friday, August 4th?
Yeah, I can't do that, I'm gone.
Yeah, I leave well, I can do the 4th, yeah. But the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, I'm in the Keys.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Anytime after August 2nd for the entire month or the entire month of September is good.
Yeah, we'll just hold it in the Keys, we'll hold it now.
Come on
That's an
down.
idea.
Lobsters are on me.
Carl, what were you gonna say?
Fresh.
I was just going to say, it's best if, given especially the
Yeah.
number of changes we've had.
Right.
We try to get the budget lined up a little bit because your September meetings are public hearings.
Right.
And it's best to probably have a document out that's pretty close to where council wants it to be.
Right.
Pending, of course, citizen comments.
August 11th? Because that would still
I'm
give them,
out.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm out.
When do you come back?
I'm gone.
21st?
I'm gone for August,
Oh,
except for our first meeting. I'm missing one meeting.
And just so the council knows, I'm out of pocket until the end of the month.
Oh,
of
this month?
Yeah.
This month.
So we're talking
All right.
August already? I'm good, I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, but that, again, that could be handled without me being here, so,
Yeah.
because we have a crack staff here.
I'm out the 3rd to the 8th of the August.
in the morning or the second?
How about the,
Mayor, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, what's the date we're batting around?
Well, we're kind of just kicking things around because Deputy Chief, I'm sorry.
Deputy Chief.
Deputy Mayor Flynn leaves the 4th for the entire month. Is there any way you could chime in on the 2nd? Or are you flying back?
Flying back.
Gotcha.
And then what about the 3rd?
Well, the 3rd I'm leaving.
3rd
You
I'm
know what?
out.
Oh, I was gonna offer to stay on the 3rd.
No, I'm out from the 3rd to the 8th. I'll be in Denver.
What do you want, third to what?
3rd to the 8th.
Well, let me
I'll
ask you this.
be
I mean,
Denver.
Pete, it would be great to have you there, obviously, but maybe you could chime in on a phone call after August 3rd or whatever.
I'll have to do that, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well, and it's unfortunate, but we all
But Amy's
get
gonna
around
do it.
every now and
I'm
then.
gone also.
On the 3rd?
The 3rd
Yeah.
to the 8th I'm out.
Well, let me ask you a question. On the 16th, that's a daytime, that's a 9 o'clock meeting?
Yeah.
What about the afternoon of the 16th? Is that too late, Carl?
The
Not
si-
look
not
at
the
Ann.
afternoon.
Is
but-
that
The 16th of what month are you
Okay,
talking about?
and we're starting to get concerned looks here, I think. so.
August, is he talking about?
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor,
August the 16th.
not the private, what time do you get in on
August 16th will work.
Wednesday?
August 16th will be great.
What time do you get in on the 2nd, if you don't mind me asking, sir?
No, but I land about 2 in the afternoon.
Well, I was just thinking if we could have a light meeting. I mean,
Can't we
stay
do-
late.
They'd have to fly in, yes.
No, if we had, or you're coming to the meeting on the 2nd, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
If we could get a light
Oh.
meeting on the 2nd,
Replace the meeting.
replace the meeting,
What if you could consider
Yeah.
replacing the meeting? with-
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Yeah, we
Carl.
could start at 4.
Yeah, understood. I think we'll just have to take a look at our
Advertisement.
scheduling of advertisements and cases and things like that, but we'll look at that with the goal of, I mean, if it just needs to be
Make it-
super light,
Super light.
in other words, the stuff we have to
Before
have
she has
on
an
there
ordinance or two, she's
legally.
gotta get
Yeah.
that done.
Yeah.
And then we do the budget.
yeah, like no presentations or any of that,
Right.
unless it's one of those
Okay,
have-to-haves.
we
That's
can do
great.
that.
Good.
We can do that.
2nd of August, Wednesday.
That means nothing heavy-duty.
Correct.
Controversial, which is
Right.
I'm sorry, what date is this now?
August the 2nd.
August is
controlling
Second.
the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could do it like at 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And
Peter, is you all right at 4 o'clock on the 2nd?
Yeah, look, I might be in short, but yeah, I'll be
All
there.
right, great. All right.
And we could clarify if the ordinances are requirements, if there's a concern that that might be a very public issue or a lot of feedback from the public, we can ask for continuance, so we meet our legal obligations as well, so it might be.
Okay, that'd be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Assuming my flight's on time, 4 o'clock won't be a problem. If
Go right
it's
into the
not,
meeting and come back.
well, I'll get there when I can.
Okay, so everybody, so we're good on Wednesday, August 2nd at 4 o'clock.
With an asterisk by me at 4, but yeah.
Right. All right,
Okay, good.
thank you.
So just for clarification, if we start at 4, will we, if we need to start any of those council items at 5, we would just adjourn for that and then re-go back into the,
Yeah, or
So
if
we
you can,
keep in timing.
if they can be, whatever the word you use, to the next meeting.
continue
then-
to, we probably have to open as city council and then continue.
Right. Okay. Is that good, Carl?
It's good?
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Public comment, please?
What?
No?
I got it.
Oh, good.
Disappoint us.
You gotta make a comment on this. We've managed to raise the tax or the cost of living for the people of Bonita Springs, everybody, with this service, with this electric and communications tax. We managed to raise that without a referendum. The people had no say in raising those taxes. You've gotten a 9% raise in property value last year, 6% this year, 8%. You're getting more money every year. You got more people working here every year. What do I care? I got enough money to pay. But what are we gonna do with the poor people? The government wants to put the poor people in the gated communities, could get them out of the ghetto, and they're gonna subsidize them to live in the gated communities. Maybe that's the answer. We're gonna keep them poor, but we're gonna pay them to live like kings. But I don't know. I don't see where we need this more money out of the public. We're getting plenty now. I know the mayor, he gets his 15,000 in. And taxes are taxes. It's 5% for the city, it's, Of course, all the other government agencies are gonna raise their taxes this year. So it's gonna be thousands of dollars to all the people that own property in Bonita Springs. I thought we could do better. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else from the public? Anything else from council? Once again, thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and
Thank
Council,
you.
appreciate
All right.
that.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.
Go Michigan.
Go Blue.
Oh, brother.
Believe it or not, I thought that was...